coming to you from the Pacific Northwest, where it is crazy weather out there. It was 80 degrees yesterday in October. That is unbelievable here. 80 degrees. We were sitting out on the deck, and then all of a sudden with the kids last night, Sarah and the kids came over while Joel was at his Bible study. And we were sitting there, and the sun went down, and the temperature dropped about 10 degrees. Shout out to, we were at a retreat this weekend, or this last week, at Inspiration Church with some great friends, and just had a great time with the Rhema people up there. Great time with that. Max Gurgente from Italy spoke. Actually, he's from Canada and Italy. Has the Rhema in Italy and different things. And then Greg and Starlene Martin hosted. Great time in your church. Thank you guys for everything that you did. We really, really appreciated and enjoyed. Your team did a fantastic job. And I want to thank you for that, all you guys that did everything. So we have, let's see, coming up, Pastor Joel in our church here at Rain Church in Vancouver, Washington. Did a fantastic, one of the best messages I've heard him preach last week, and I really was impacting to me. I really got a lot out of it. It was really good. Good morning, Pastor Jeremy. Good to see you guys back then. We didn't get to hang out this last week. I don't know why that didn't work. Pastor Jonathan, Mary Dalkey, and Marianne Northrup's on there. Michael Davis. Good morning, Michael Davis. Now, Michael works at TPC Sawgrass. One of my bucket list courses to play. I'm coming, Michael, I'm coming. Ray Snokes is on there, Pastor Ray and Pastor Jerry, and let's see, who else? Rosario's on there, and Io just had a birthday. Ann Penny's on there. And anyway, great to see all of you guys. Let's get started this morning. I want to share with you a thought. We're doing these biblical laws of success, and I want to talk to you today about the law of work. The law of work. Now again, when we share these biblical laws of success, I'm going to bring a scripture each time that these scriptures are going to guarantee you success. Well, you can't know what the Lord's going to do. Well, yes, I can, because his word says I can. If his word says it, then I can believe it. So he says this in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 23, and listen to this verse. Now this most Christians kind of go with this. We talk about, we say, well, we're a success if the Lord wills. Well, let's find out what his will is. His will is his word. So he says this in Proverbs 14:23, he says, in hard work there is always profit, but much chattering can lead to poverty. In hard work there is always profit, but much chattering. In other words, sit around and do nothing, then you're going to have poverty. Someone said this: 3 frogs on a log. One decided to jump in. How many frogs are on the log? 3 frogs on a log. One decided to jump in. How many frogs are on the log? Well, the answer, of course, is 3. It's not 2. Immediately you go to 2, but it's really 3. Because just because you decided to do something has nothing to do with action. Work is action. Work is doing something. So when the frog that decides to jump in, when he jumps in, then and only then can you count him as somebody that stepped off the cliff. So many times in life, we make decisions, or we say, I'm going to do something, but fear and different things drive us into inaction. Mistakes in life, to me, are some of the biggest mistakes in life that I have seen over the last 40 years in ministry and business and different things, are inaction. They're not wrong decisions. They're not, well, I did this and I did it stupidly. It's inaction most of the time. And people say, well, I'm praying about it. Quit praying and start acting. No, we need to pray. Obviously, we need to pray. But once you've made up your mind, start working. Start doing something. Start action, because action is where the thing is. Now, I've had this over and over again, and different people, different situations happen, and it seems like God blesses action and I don't know if I should tell it. I can't tell that story because it's too, but I've seen people sit around. Okay, should I tell the story? No, I'm not going to tell the story. But it really work involves action. You have to step out by faith. Really, work involves two aspects. Let me give you the two things that it involves. The word work really involves two things. It involves labor, in other words, action, but it also involves study. So you're either studying to do something or you're laboring to do something. I'm not talking here about punching a time clock. That's not what I'm talking about, because we're not really, this isn't the broadcast for you if you just want to punch a time clock. You have to be a thinker beyond that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'm trying to help people that are big thinkers. So it's not really talking about that. So, and I used to talk to my son and Joel, and of course he's our pastor now. But I used to talk to him, and I've said this 1,000 times. You guys have probably heard me if you've listened to this broadcast much. But there's something about the way you do things. If you do things, I use this word $10 an hour and $20 and $10 and $15 an hour. That's probably a little archaic now. But if you work, and let's say you want to get paid $15 an hour. Let's say you're getting $10 an hour, but you work as you're getting paid $15 an hour. So in that respect, if you work as though you're getting paid 15, you're getting 10, eventually somebody will pay you 15. But if you're making $15 an hour and you're working as though you're doing $10 an hour work, you will eventually get paid $10 an hour. We could probably put that on a scale of 30 and 20 or something like that now, obviously, because things have gone crazy a little bit out there. But you have to work as though your life depended upon it. I remember when I was in Bible college, I worked in I changed jobs, and I took a $12 an hour cut in pay to go to Bible college. It went from $15 an hour to $12 an hour, basically, $15.25, $3.25. And I remember working with Bible college students that were kind of lazy people, and I would kind of clean up their messes behind them and work. And it's kind of funny because it didn't seem like that I would ever it didn't seem like that would ever pay off, because it seemed like I was doing jobs for other people, and they're sitting around praying and seeking the Lord, and they're going around and actually Dave, my roommate, and I were kind of the same way. We worked hard when we worked. We gave those guys, tried to give them 8 hours a day, whatever we were working. But other people around them, they were all spiritual. Not everybody, but there's a few people there. They were spiritual. They were going to pray their way into something. All those people are out of the ministry today. None of them went through ministry time. None of them made it in ministry, because there's a law in the universe. It's the law of work, that in hard labor there is profit. But in idle chatter, eventually it's not going to pay off for you. So to me, it's really about a spiritual thing. Work is more about spiritual things. It's about the way you approach life. It's about just gritting your teeth and going for something and giving it 100%. A lot of that, I might say, is when no one's looking a lot of times. And I'm not saying no one has to look, but a lot of times your work is just between you and God, and God will pay you. God will pay you what you're worth down the road. And you may not getting paid what you're worth right now, but you can change that. It doesn't matter your age. But you might actually, if you're I'm trying to be politically correct, but you might be getting paid right now what you're worth. And you say, well, I don't like what I'm getting paid, and I've been getting paid that for 15 or 20 years. Life might be compensating you for exactly how hard you've worked. So to me, it's about backing up and really putting effort in everything that we do. There's something about trying to get rich quick. There's something about trying to go fast. There's something about skipping the issue of work that just doesn't pay off. Proverbs 13:11 says, wealth gained dishonestly dwindles away. But whoever works diligently increases his prosperity. Diligently means 1 year after another, 1 year after another, 1 year after another, week after week, day after day, time after time. It's not, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get rich quick and all those kind of things, because that just never seems to work. It doesn't last. And so many times I've seen people on kind of a fast track to somewhere. Whenever you say, I'm on a fast track to somewhere, generally speaking, it doesn't work. Now, let me say this to you. When someone's put in 20 or 30 years of their life doing something else, or they were faithful 10 or 15 years somewhere else, and then it's a fast track, that's just the reward of God blessing them. So you got to put in the time. There's no place in the Word. There's no shortcuts for putting in the time of hard work, study, hard work, study, hard work, study, hard work, study, and then it pays off. Let me give you 4 things that kind of consist of. Number 1, work consists of you. Eventually speaking, you have to have great confidence. Whether you think you can or you can't, or think you can't, you're right. Confidence is what you're doing. You have to have. In real estate, I believe in what I'm doing in real estate because I love it. I love real estate. I've seen it bring prosperity to people. I've seen how we can help people in real estate. And let me say this right now. You have to smash the subscribe button. If you're watching this on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. I need you to subscribe to this channel if you would. So to me, it's about confidence in things. And there was a guy, I believe it was Kermit Washington, I think it was Kermit. I think it was him. If I remember right, I read a book or I read an article about this. And there was something that he did and he was played in the NBA and actually a controversial guy. He punched Rudy Tomjanovich, ruined his career in a Lakers fight with the Houston Rockets, I think it was, back in the 80s or 70s or 80s. I think it was Kermit. It might have been, I think it was Kermit, yeah. But he talked about, I think in his book, and he was talking about, I'm not sure that's the guy. But anyway, let me give you the story because you'll get the gist of it. He didn't feel like he was worthy of the NBA. So every night when everybody else was asleep, he would go run stairs in the hotel rooms that they were staying. He would get in the stairwell, the emergency stairwell, and he would run stairs. And sometimes he'd run hundreds of stairs in doing that. So he wanted to make sure that he worked so that when he went out on the court, he felt the confidence of the work that he had put in. And so many times I think a lot of us, we haven't put the work in, so there's not a confidence of what we're doing. Sometimes we're just repeating something that somebody else said. Maybe we study a little bit, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever, and then we just have our talking points or whatever. But you really don't have a depth of knowledge in that area. And so you approach sales, you approach something else with a total lack of confidence, and it doesn't pay off for you. Here's another one. Dedication. You have to have dedication. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might. For there is no work or device or knowledge of wisdom in the grave where you are going. I love this. Colossians says this. Listen to this. Colossians 3:23 says, and whatever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord and not to men. Now, I think where we kind of get messed up sometimes, I think we're so seeking the will of God. We are so trying to find the will of God. What's the will of God? What's the will of God for me? What's the will of God for me? What's the will of God for me? And Paul said to the Colossian church, he says, whatever you do. So instead of kind of worrying about what to do, whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord. And that's when promotion comes. That's when God pays you. That's when prosperity happens to you. When you decide, I'm going to just work my tail end off. All I see is I don't have a direction from the Lord, but all I see is to be an usher in this church. All I see is I'm going to flip burgers and I'm going to be the best burger flipper I can be. All I see is I'm going to be a real estate agent and I'm going to work as hard as I can to be the best knowledgeable real estate agent that I can possibly be. Brings you confidence that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise. Another one is persistence. Hannibal, the conqueror of Rome, said this. He said, I shall find a way or I shall make a way. I love that determination. I shall find a way or I will make a way. I love that. Something about persistence. Ecclesiastes 10:10 says, if the axe is dull and its edge is unsharpened, more strength is needed, but skill will bring success. So in other words, there's something about persistence, but there's something about, Maxwell said this, and I love what he said. He said, if you have a big tree in the back of your yard, he said, you know how you can chop that tree down with seemingly not a lot of effort. Just take 5 swings of the axe every day. Just take 5 swings of the axe every day. So many of us, we get out, we get this inspiration, we go out, we try to, I'm going to just do all this at one time, but it's a persistent 5 swings a day. 5 swings a day. 5 swings a day. 5 swings a day. Next thing you know, the tree's down, and it took you a little longer, but you didn't burn out in the process, and you just stayed persistent, and you do it every day. Every day, every day. When I was climbing Mount Hood, I climbed Mount Hood, and the guide told us, he said, just don't stop. And he said, don't try to run. Don't try to even use a lot of effort. He said, just put 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. And we made it to the top of the mountain. I wasn't prepared for it, and it was a crazy time, but I wasn't prepared. I love what Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 and 8 says. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the doors will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be open. In other words, just simply this. Just keep knocking, keep asking. And I'm not talking about begging God. I'm talking about knocking and stay after it and stay after it. Stay in the saddle, stay after it. So many times people quit just short of their victory. Not a good thing. Last one I want to talk to you about is overcoming obstacles. Proverbs 14:4 says, and all this is about work. Where there's no oxen, the trough is clean, but where much increase comes by the strength of an oxen. So many times there's so many, stalls. I mean, work is dirty. Work is messy. It's I got to cut out time for this. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I'm studying for my real estate test, so I got to do that. I'm studying for that insurance test, so I've got to do that. I've got to cut out that time. And so many times life talks us out of things. And we have to just simply be persistent and overcome obstacles in our life, because there will be a lot of obstacles in your life. Of course, the number one thing is you must be born again to enter the kingdom of heaven. If you don't have that going for you, what do you have? You've got nothing, my friends. So to me, it's just about that. And the Apostle Paul, he gave us that. He gave us how to do that. He says, if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus, believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And so just simply pray that prayer. Don't forget, pray that prayer, get in a local church, and don't forget also, remember this, subscribe to my channel. I need you to subscribe and like that.